back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got the best NFL free agents still available. Let's check this out.
There's been a lot of moves in a short amount of time this offseason, and if you haven't kept up with the NFL offseason, then you may have missed big free agency moves like Sam Darnold going to the Seahawks, Milton Williams going to the Patriots, Devontae Adams going to the Rams, and Justin Fields going to the Jets. There were also a few big trades like DK Metcalf going to the Steelers.
I ain't gonna lie to one free agent. I'm surprised that still a free agent has got to be Amari Cooper. Like, I understand he had kind of a down year, but he's still a solid, reliable receiver, bro.
And there are several hundred transactions every offseason.
Asante Samuel, I don't know how he's still a free agent.
I know that the NFL has slowed down where there are not big transactions.
Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen,
it is a good time to discuss the best NFL free agents still available. I know we are near the end of May, and obviously the first few waves of free agency has taken place, as well as the NFL draft, but there are a lot of talented players still out there, and in today's video, we're going to break down why these guys are still free agents, the impact they could have for a team in 2025, and potential landing spots too. And there is a lot to break down in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is coming off of a year with the Bears in which he had 70 receptions for 744 yards and 7 touchdowns, and it was a very frustrating year for not just Keenan, but the Bears as a whole. Keenan has been a really good player throughout his career, as he has nearly 1,000 career receptions, as well as over 11,000 career yards, and is
still
one
of the best route runners in the NFL.
I know when guys at skill positions get above the age of 30, there's usually an eyebrow raise, which is more or less a question of how long can this guy keep doing it. And Keenan's 744 yards in 2024 were the lowest he's had in a season since all the way back in 2016, in which he tore his ACL in week 1, but I don't think this is a case of Keenan simply not having it anymore. Sure, he may not be the player he was 5 or 6 years ago, but he's not a bad player by any means.
I feel like him going to the Cardinals probably would be good. You know, they need another receiver. And he needs a team, you know what I'm saying, to prove that he's still a good receiver.
Career last year, he hauled in just 57.9% of his targets, and yes, he had a couple of drops, but I still think he is a solid route runner and can be a contributor on a contending team. And at this point, the furthest Keenan Allen has been in the postseason is the divisional round of the playoffs. And for a guy who is near 1,000 receptions and a player who will certainly be in the Hall of Fame discussions when the time comes, as again, he is a 6-time Pro Bowler and a 6-time 1,000-yard receiver, why not go sign with a team you think can win the Super Bowl? And one thing that I think gets forgotten about with Keenan Allen specifically is he just had 1,200 yards in 2023 in 13 games. Keenan averaged the highest yards total per game in his career at 31 years old in 2023, and he was obviously never a Jameson Williams type burner where if he had a big injury that essentially the speed was gone and he would be a completely different player. No. For anyone who remembers, Keenan ran a very slow 40 at 21 years old, and he certainly isn't running a 4.3 at 33 years old. This is a really good veteran player, a tough football player, and a guy who gets it. And to be completely honest, I don't understand why he's still a free agent. There's so many young quarterbacks in the NFL in today's era that if I needed a receiver to help out my young quarterback, I would love to bring Keenan to my team and to help my young quarterback grow. I would be willing to overpay a bit at this point because he's still a really solid football player, but right now he's undoubtedly one of the best free agents available. Veteran corner Mike Hilton is another good player.
He a nickel demon, boy, especially off them slot blitzes.
That, hey, we're playing the Bengals today. I know you went up against Jamar Chase in practice every day each of the last 4 years, so go lock him up. But he is still a really solid player and a guy who absolutely deserves a roster spot in 2025. And one thing I think we can all agree on as football fans, no matter who we think the best team in the NFL is or any other topic we would butt heads on, it's that you can never have too many corners in today's era. Guys get hurt all the time, and having corner depth is critical, and not only is Hilton still a good player, but he's a smart veteran corner who's also really good in the run game that can only be viewed as a plus in today's game because of how much teams run the football. Defensive coordinators would rather get beat with an 11-play, 75-yard, slow, methodical drive than they would on one big play like we saw regularly in 2018 when Patrick Mahomes would find Tyreek Hill 45 yards down the field. And due to this, teams have played with a lot more too-high safety looks and acknowledging that the run game is going to be more open so that they don't give up the explosive plays once or even twice. The run game is going.
Why would Geno even throw this? You got K9 and you got, I think, is this Hollister? Whoever this is, but you got 2 wide open targets right here. Like, what is Geno doing?
More open so that they don't give up the explosive plays once or
What
even
the
twice
fuck?
a game. And this is where a
That was
guy
probably
like
Cody
Mike Hilton
Parks.
comes in, who has played a lot of football over the past 8
Bro,
years, and a guy who's
what?
seen it all.
Oh, dude, we got
He's
Anthony
also
Brown.
a
That
very
nigga was
durable
ass.
player, as the fewest amount of games he played in a season was 12 back in 2020. Hilton certainly isn't a perfect player, but he's a guy who should still play quite a bit during the 2025 season, and a guy I wouldn't be surprised at all if he signs with a contender right before the preseason. Next up is a pass rusher that had more pressures in 2024 than guys like TJ Watt, Max Crosby, Brian Burns, and Will Anderson, and it's 11th year pass rusher Zadarius Smith. Now, one big preface
I think the Lions might bring him back.
Smith is Zadarius at this point in his career is more of a pass rush specialist. You do not want him as an every down player, and you don't want him
Hold
out
up. Y'all probably can't see this. So, this nigga had 63 pressures, 9 sacks, and they released him? I mean, it's probably for like a salary cap dump, but, bro, he was pretty productive last year. Y'all better bring him back or somebody gonna scoop him up. Real shit.
Because unfortunately he does miss a lot of tackles in the run game, but if there's one thing he can do and still do at a high level based off of what we saw in 2024, in which he had 60 plus pressures and actually finished 12th in the NFL in pressures with 63 last year and had 9 sacks, it is to routinely get after the quarterback. And as we saw Philadelphia last year win the Super Bowl, if they did one thing well as a defense, and they did several things well, it was routinely get after the quarterback with 4 players. And Zadarius at this point in his career would be a tremendous Robin to another pass rusher's Batman. And if I were Zadarius at this point, I would like to think that he.
I wouldn't mind bringing him in on a cheap deal
when he chooses to sign with
always,
his next team.
You know what I'm saying? Use
he
more
is
pass
in year
rush.
11 and he has 69 career sacks, and it's been a really nice career for the former 4th round pick. And this is also a player that has played 16 or more games in every season since 2018, with the exception of the 2021 season, in which he only played 1 game as he missed the rest of the year due to a back injury. So from 2022 through 2024, he's played in 16 or more games, and I would honestly say that in 2022, I would give him the perfect attendance nod despite missing a game, and it was because the Vikings had the division wrapped up entering Week 18, and they played it smart as an organization and told Zadarius, you can go ahead and rest, and we don't need you this week because this game is more or less meaningless because we can't get the number 1 seed at this point in time. So for Zadarius Smith to still be a free agent, to me, is a player that would be an absolute steal at this point in free agency, because he's a guy that can absolutely get after the quarterback at this point in his career and be a 45 or 50 pressure guy in 2025. And there is no coach in the NFL that would scoff or turn their head at a pass rusher getting 50 pressures this year and say, you know what, we're good, we don't need it, we have too much depth. But if you are a contender, why not give Zadarius Smith a call? Because you know in January, based on the last 3 years, he's going to have the durability to be there, and to me, Zadarius Smith is one of the best free agents still available. Next up is the definition of a dart throw in really every sense, and it's former Chargers corner Asante Samuel Jr. Samuel was a 2nd round pick out of Florida State back in 2021, and for what should be expected for a 2nd round pick, I thought Samuel had a solid tenure with the Chargers. Not bad, not great, but solid. And he only played in 4 games in 2024, and I was really hoping that he would have a good final year with the Chargers. That way he could really get a big payday this offseason, but unfortunately he only played 4 games due to what was disclosed as a shoulder injury, and we found out this offseason that it was due to a nerve injury and that he had neck surgery in April. And unfortunately,
okay, now it's starting to make sense. He just had surgery. I still can see him getting signed maybe like right before the NFL season, because some teams are still gonna need corners. I wouldn't mind bringing him in either. Like, we need more depth. That's the thing, was we need depth at DB in general, like corner, safety, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We need a lot of depth, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because we got 2 young corners we drafted this year. We brought in Chidobe Awuzie. We still got Marlowe, Nate Wiggins. You know what I'm saying? But we need more depth behind that. So
there's going to be NFL teams that do not mess with next Asante
Samuel, Justin Simmons,
off of their free
or
Zadarius
Smith.
Board. Obviously, in this case,
there's no way we're getting all 3, but
And because
one
of
or
two
two
there's
of those
going to
3.
be teams that have no interest in Samuel at all, but I still think there's going to be a handful of teams that want him to play for them in 2025. I think in the best case, he could be a really good number 2 corner, and the one thing that will always limit Asante Samuel Jr., unfortunately, is his tackling. He is not a big corner, and it definitely shows up at times, and there were also times where Brandon Staley would try and have him in the box a lot more than you would like a 180-pound corner in the box.
He
definitely
ain't got to worry about that with us. Kyle Hamilton taking care of that.
At times in the run game. But if you stick him outside, let him be a good number 2 corner.
I ain't gonna lie,
that
that would be a nice setup. Marlo in the slot, Nate and Asante on the outside, Kyle in the box, Malachi Starks over the top with maybe Bo Braid or Sanusi Kane. I ain't gonna lie, that's looking like a no-fly zone, bro.
That could be a low-risk, high-reward signing.
And
one of the biggest things that we go back to regularly on this channel is you can never have enough corner help, you can never have enough pass rush help, and I do think at this point that Asante Samuel Jr., if he can play and get on the field regularly, that he will ultimately prove to be one of the biggest free agent steals from the 2025 class. Next up is running back J.K. Dobbins.
JK. He had a good year before he got hurt against us.
I was a huge J.K. Dobbins fan in the draft process back in 2020 when he came out of Ohio State, and he had a really solid rookie season. As
whoever gets him, they gonna get a baller
and 9 touchdowns.
I would like to see him go to a
Dobbins
contender,
had a rough next couple of years as he tore his ACL in the final preseason game in 2021 and missed his entire second season.
Yeah, man.
He then suffered another knee injury in 2022, and pretty quickly we were looking at a player who suffered 2 season-ending injuries in the first 3 years of his career, who also plays a position that has a relatively short
rookie season. J.K. Dobbins
had
so
8 carries
good
in Week 1 against the Texans in 2023
Don't remind me of this game,
before
bro.
tearing his Achilles tendon, and this all occurred before J.K. Dobbins turned 25 years old. Fortunately, he had a good year for the Chargers in 2024, as he had over 900 yards and 9 touchdowns, and played like the J.K. Dobbins everyone knew he could have been when he was drafted back in 2020. Obviously, when you talk about J.K. Dobbins, you have to start with the injury history, and I get it, but this isn't a player where we're talking about what-ifs anymore. However, heading into the 2024 season, this was a guy who played just 9 games in the previous 2 years, and I think that was a major cause for concern. But Dobbins played 13 games last year and even started...
All of that could have been prevented if we didn't play our starters in a meaningless preseason game. Like, he could have been on his second contract with us now. Like, that shit is crazy,
back-to-back 130
all because
yards,
John Harbaugh want to play this nigga in preseason.
Bonus, the Chargers started the year 2-0. Now, because we are including J.K. Dobbins in a video in May talking about the best free agents still available, does that mean he can be a bell cow running back that can rush for 1,300 or 1,400 yards this year and take the league by storm? No, and unfortunately J.K. has the injury history to show for that. But I really do think Dobbins would be the best running back on the Bears, and a few other teams for that matter too. The injury history with J.K. Dobbins is where you have to be realistic, because no team should give him a large guaranteed contract at this point, because as we all know,
like a
the best ability is availability. But I would love for Dobbins to sign a contract with a team like the Bears, where he would have a legitimate chance to start, or even a contending team like the Bucs or the Bills to be a rotational.
The only reason I didn't say the Bears because I've been hearing a lot of rumors about Nick Chubb potentially going to the Bears. So I don't know. I would love to see Nick Chubb go there because, you know, he need to go to a team that's actually, you know, that can actually compete, bro. Because the Browns, they was ruining his career,
draft
bro.
capital and second-year player Ray Davis, but I think at this point in free agency, J.K. Dobbins is the epitome of a low-risk, high-reward signing, and he is just 26 years old, and I certainly hope we haven't seen the last of J.K. Dobbins.
Facts.
Guard Will Hernandez has been a starter since being drafted back in 2018 for the Giants, and spent the last few years with the Arizona Cardinals. He will play this season at just 30 years old, and this is a guy who has over 90 career starts and a veteran who you would think would be around for the next few years. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL in Week 5 of the 2024 season, but this isn't a player who's barely scraped by throughout his time in the NFL. This is a solid pass-blocking guard who would be an upgrade for a lot of teams along the interior offensive line. Obviously, Hernandez isn't going to Canton, Ohio 5 years after he retires, but this is a player who, in my opinion, is a floor-raising guard. He could provide stability and, for a lot of teams, improve the offensive line too. I think at worst you'd be looking at a placeholder for a year before you try and draft a guard in the first 2 rounds of the 2026 draft, but for a player of Hernandez's caliber to still be a free agent when he's played in at least 13 games in every season of his career, minus a year in which he tore his ACL, which is kind of a freak injury and one you certainly can't control, to me is baffling. There's a lot of good interior defensive linemen in today's era, and there's far fewer good interior offensive linemen to counter what those guys bring to the table each and every Sunday. Hernandez will be just 30 in September, so I don't think it's unreasonable to say he could start somewhere for 2 years if he stays healthy.
Wait,
and with how unreasonable to...
Is he Samoan?
say he could start somewhere for 2 years
Bro, look
if
like
he
he's
stays
Simone.
healthy. And with how
Wouldn't be
thin
surprised,
O-line
bro. Them
depth
niggas
is in
taking
today's
over the
NFL,
NFL.
Will Hernandez is definitely one of the best free agents still available. We are sticking with another offensive lineman, and it's a player that I liked a lot coming out of college, and a player that after his rookie season, I would not have been surprised if he would make a Pro Bowl or two in his career, and it's former Browns offensive tackle Jedrick Wills.
Roll
Browns fans have certainly
Tide.
grown frustrated with Jedrick over
Roll
the past couple of
Tide,
years,
you
and
know
I
what I'm
completely
saying?
understand why. And the main reason that Browns fans have grown frustrated with Jedrick over the past couple of years is that at times he makes business decisions, and there's certainly an argument to be made that he makes more business decisions than he probably should, and I think that's the biggest reason as to why he is still a free agent. I think all the tools are there for Jedrick, as at times he can really mirror pass rusher's ability. He has a good anchor, again, when he tries and when he really wants to dominate. There are flashes where he does, but unfortunately there are plays in the run game where you'd really like to see him put a defensive player on their rear end or really finish a block and play through the whistle, and unfortunately at times he doesn't. This is a player that I'd like to see Eagles offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland get his hands on just to see if there's something there.
They did lose
Jedrick
Mekhi
is
Becton,
just
so
26 years old and is a former first-round pick. And the reality is, former first-round picks get more chances over the course of time than other draft picks because they were selected that high for a reason. They were selected that high probably because they had a really dominant trait, or there was one specific part of that game where they were the best at in the draft class. And if Jeff Stoutland can't get anything out of him, then I would be willing to move on from Jedrick Wills and just be willing to accept that this was a player that never maximized his potential, due in large part to his decisions and ultimately the business decisions that he made week in and week out. Obviously, the concern with Jedrick Wills is effort, and that's been the case for the past couple of years. And if I were a GM that wanted to bring in a veteran body for training camp and to see what we have in a player in Jedrick Wills, I would give him a low guarantee deal with a lot of incentives and basically say, if you want to reach those incentives, then you're going to have to maximize your ability, and we're going to see if you can do that over the course of a 17-game season if you make a roster in the first place. Aaron Rodgers is, of course, one of the best free agents available as well, and he spent the 2024 season with the
what
Jets,
is going on with him, though? What is going? Where is he going to sign? Is it going to be Pittsburgh? That's been the only team that I've been hearing. Is it going to be Pittsburgh? Shit, is it going to be the Saints? You know what I'm saying? Who else needs a quarterback? Shit, they could. Nah, he definitely not going to the Colts. I could see the Colts doing some dumb shit like that, but bro, you got 3 young quarterbacks that can all, you know what I'm saying, play right now. So don't see that happening. Who else need a quarterback right now, bro? That's the only 2 I can think of, Pittsburgh and New Orleans. But nigga, what the fuck is going on with him, bro? Like, bro, you know what I'm saying? He won a ring. I forgot what year. He's a 4-time MVP. Nigga threw for all these yards, made all this money. Now he want to be arrogant and shit. Like, bro, that nigga probably at a probably smoking some weed or some shit right now in one of those little retreats or some shit. Like, what the fuck is going on with this nigga, bro? Like, I ain't gonna lie, I'm starting to dislike Aaron Rodgers, bro. Like, as a person, like, real shit.
And I do think this is a case of where his numbers from the 2024 season look a lot better than how he actually played week in and week out. I don't think Aaron Rodgers was a bad player in 2024, but I also think we're at the point in his career where he's a lot more carefree. He slings the rock wherever he wants at any point in time, where earlier in his career, he was very precise with every throw that he made, and there's a reason that he is the all-time leader in interception percentage. There's a reason that he had insane touchdown-to-interception ratio seasons, like in 2011 when he threw 45-6, or in 2020 when he threw 48-5, or even the following year when he threw 37-4. The receivers he threw to in the mid-2010s weren't bad, whether it was Jordy Nelson or Greg Jennings or Randall Cobb, or even the late 2010s and Devontae Adams, and he was obviously the best of the bunch. But the point is Aaron Rodgers at this point is a much more carefree quarterback, and it showed on the tape that we saw last year. At this point, he is still without a doubt one of the best free agents available, and I would be pretty surprised if he's not a Pittsburgh Steeler in 2025, because there's not a lot of other destinations for him to go, and he obviously would not be a backup either. And given that Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old and will be 42 in December, I also think there's this unspoken rule that, hey, we want you on the team, here's the playbook. We just don't want to go through the BS and the drama of
he can really retire for real,
and everything that ensued
last
year with the Jets.
He's gonna be a first ballot Hall of Fame.
That drama. So I do think Aaron Rodgers will eventually be a Steeler, as I don't think the Steelers are dumb enough to go into the season with just Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, and I do think Aaron Rodgers will be a Steeler, and that it's just
Will Howard. He's not ready yet.
I do want to give a shout out to Rasul Douglas as well, as he certainly certainly applies to today's video. But
I think,
that's
like,
all I have
after a
for
year or
today.
two.
I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video as it helps tremendously with YouTube algorithm. And we are also closing in on 200,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
Hey man, shit. I want to know who y'all think non-con flow. Who y'all think is the best available free agent? Cause there's still a lot of guys out there like Nick Chubb. Obviously mentioned Amari Cooper, Von Miller. If he can stay healthy, that's the biggest problem with him. And then he didn't really play all that good last year. But I feel like, if he goes to a contending team, I think he might ball out. I don't know. He got to stay healthy though. Who else? Those like the only guys I can really think of right now. Yeah, I can't really think of nobody else. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I want to react to. Without further ado, now.
I'm chosen. I'ma make them feel me. Make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broken. But I know I'm chosen. I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.